Good morning. Chairman?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning. I hereby call to order this 23rd meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the year 2025. We welcome everyone joining in the room today, as well as those joining us on the live stream. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At today's meeting, which is open to the public, the Commission will act on various matters. Since adequate forms have been made available for public participation in cases before the Commission, there is no opportunity for the public to address the Commission at this public meeting. Public meeting motions, statements, and video will be available on the Commission's website later today. We do have a quorum of commissioners present today, as I am joining remotely, and my four colleagues are on the bench. The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of November 6th, 2025. I would like to recognize Vice Chair Barrow as the editor of the minutes. Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you, Chairman. I've reviewed the minutes from November 6, 2025. I move that they be approved as submitted.
Vice Chair Barrow moves that the minutes be approved as submitted, seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Let's begin on page 1 of today's agenda and matters presented by Executive Director Barrier in the Office of Executive Director. I move that the Commission adopt a proposed order regarding appointments to the Damage Prevention Committee. Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 2 of today's agenda and matters presented by Director Hafner in the Office of Special Assistance. I move that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the application of Northeastern Movers Incorporated. Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters approved by a vote of 5-0. Continuing on page 2 of today's agenda, I move that the Commission adopt a proposed opinion and order in the tariff supplement of Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania Incorporated. Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Commissioner Zerfus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion. Please enter into the record as if I read it in its entirety. But before us today for disposition are the exceptions of Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania, the Office of Consumer Advocate, and the Pennsylvania State University that were filed on October 14th, 2025 of the recommended decision of Administrative Law Judge Jeffrey A. Watson and Chad Allensworth, issued on October 3rd, 2025. As part of this base rate proceeding, the OCA proposed that Columbia be required to evaluate and report on its payment plans and its policies concerning payment plans and identify potential reforms and changes that are likely to ensure greater success with payment plans. The OCA averred that its proposal could help reduce collection costs and future terminations of service, resulting in a lower uncollectible expense. The OCA also averred that it was unreasonable to approve Columbia's uncollectible expense given that Columbia stated it does not evaluate the success or failure of its payment agreements. The ALJs agreed with the OCA and recommended that the Commission require Columbia to evaluate and report on its payment plans, its policies in this area, and identify potential reforms and changes that are likely to ensure greater success with payment plans. The ALJs noted that Columbia does not evaluate the efficacy of its payment arrangements, leaving little chance of improvement in this area. Columbia filed exceptions on this issue and contending that the OCA did not clearly identify the scope of the evaluation and report in its proposal. I conclude that the manner in which Columbia manages its payment arrangements has a direct correlation with customers' abilities to afford and maintain their natural gas service, and as a result, with uncollectible expenses. The Commission's most recent Universal Service Program and Collection Performance Report shows that based on the total amount of Columbia customers that received payment arrangements in 2023, 59.4% of those customers were confirmed low income. The record in this case shows that only 23% of Columbia's estimated low-income customers and 30% of its confirmed low-income customers were enrolled in CAP. Under the circumstances, I find that it is appropriate for Columbia's payment plans and policies to be evaluated within Columbia's Universal Service Advisory Committee to help ensure success with payment plans, as well as to evaluate whether payment plans are the most advantageous avenue for assisting low-income customers. Columbia is directed to submit these issues to its USEC within 3 months of the entry of this opinion and order. Columbia should also be fully prepared to address these payment plan issues in its next Universal Service and Energy Conservation Plan. So therefore, I move that 1, Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania's exception on this issue is granted in part. 2, that the recommended decision of Administrative Law Judges Jeffrey Watson and Chad Allensworth issued on October 3rd, 2025 is modified, consistent with this motion. 3, that Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania shall submit to its Universal Service Advisory Committee within 3 months of the entry date of this opinion and order in this matter the issues related to Columbia's payment plans and policies consistent with this motion. Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania shall also be fully prepared to address these issues in its next Universal Service and Energy Conservation Plan. 4, that a copy of this opinion and order in this matter be served on the Bureau of Consumer Services for monitoring and compliance. And 5, that the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfus. We heard the motion by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion on the motion?
Chairman, this is Commissioner Coleman. I do have some verbal remarks.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you. This case is a bit of a head scratcher for me here this morning, and let me just explain. I would agree with the Office of Special Assistance in granting all of the exceptions of Columbia Gas in this matter. I don't believe that they have demonstrated any violations of Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code, and that's really the basis for suggesting any kind of remedial action here this morning. The record shows that Columbia's rate for justified customer complaints and its rate for justified payment arrangement complaints has been better than the industry average, not only for the last year, but for the last 3 years. Moreover, the Commission's regulations governing the content of universal service plans do not include company payment arrangement practices. So I don't believe it's appropriate for us to be asking Columbia to be coming back to the Commission and inserting some kind of remedial action on customer payment arrangements in their universal service plan. Therefore, I'm going to be voting no on the motion this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Any further comments? Hearing none on the motion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The ayes have it, and motion's approved by a vote of 4-1, noting the dissent of Commissioner Coleman. Any further comments on the matter? Commissioner Yanora.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a motion on this matter. I ask that my motion be read in its entirety. As part of this rate case, Columbia proposed to make a weather normalization adjustment, or WNA, a pilot permanent program. WNA may be used to align revenue collected to that approved by the Commission. In this case, the Commission Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement recommend that the following customer protections should be put in place if the Commission approved the WNA. 1, 5% dead band. 2, the shoulder month of May should be removed. And 3, that the time period used to calculate the normal heating degree days should be shortened by 10 years. I agree with the INE and Columbia in the matter that a pilot WNA should be approved with the INE suggested customer protection that I listed. Adopting the WNA with this customer protection will balance the risk of changing weather patterns between the company and the customers. Therefore, I move that 1, the exception number 12 filed by Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania on October 14, 2025, to be recommended the decision of Law Judge Jeffrey A. Watson and Chad L. Ellsworth, issued October 3rd, 2025, and the above captioned proceedings are granted in part as modified and consistent with this motion. And two, the Office of Special Assistants prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yanora. We've heard the motion by Commissioner Yanora, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion on Commissioner Yanora's motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is approved by a vote of 5-0. On the matter as amended by the motion, any further comments?
Chairman, I have a statement.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Please enter the statement into the record as though read in its entirety. I will not read it in its entirety. It is rather lengthy. I will try to summarize. So, in this RD, the ALJs Watson and Allensworth recommended that the commission deny the company's rate increase request in its entirety, or alternatively, reduce the increase to $66.4 million. I'd like to thank the ALJs for sharpening their pencils, giving us a thorough record and a thorough recommendation. I do agree that the increase should be reduced drastically. There are a few issues that I would like to highlight dealing with the overall rate, the methane detectors, and the CAP program. So first off, the frequency of rate filings. Since 2008, Columbia Gas has requested an increase almost on an annual basis, and we've had 5 rate increases since 2020. Columbia Gas's rates have increased by almost $500 million during this period, and the record shows that Columbia Gas has the highest gas rates in the state. It has the highest revenue per unit of natural gas in the state, and the 3rd highest for the 25 natural gas distribution companies offering service in the Mid-Atlantic region, surpassed only by distribution companies that service New York City. Columbia Gas's rates outpace inflation over the last 20 years. Columbia's residential customer rates for average heating customers have increased by 121%. During this period, the household income for a family of 4 at 150% of the federal poverty income guidelines has only increased by 60%. Columbia Gas has also filed 12 rate cases during this period, like I said, totaling almost $500 million. Now, I understand that Columbia Gas and any other of our companies is entitled to recovery of the cost of the investments that it makes to serve the public, to serve the customers. But what I want to point out is that with the company's utilization of the fully projected future test year, as authorized under Section 315 of Title 66, with the availability of the DISC and other rate mechanisms, those should be enough incentives to discourage this near annual filing. That is the reason why those mechanisms were implemented by the legislature and this commission. Moving on to cap structure. So Columbia has requested a capital structure of 54.4% common equity and 45.6% debt, along with a return on equity of 11.35%. According to the OCA, the average capital structure mix for the proxy group used in this case, as shown on the value line, consists of 55% debt and 45% equity. That is the inverse of the ratio proposed by the company. So here, the record clearly reflects that the proxy group's capital structure is composed of less equity than Columbia Gas's capital structure. that highlights a reduced risk for the company when compared to that of the proxy group. And to me, that suggests the need for a lower ROE. I do agree with OCA that the discrepancy between Columbia Gas's capital structure and the proxy group would require adjustment to the cap structure. It's clear from the arguments put forth by the parties in opposition to the company's proposed capital structure that a 50-50 equity debt cap structure would be a better representation of the company's actual financial risk and would have resulted in approximately $17.7 million in a reduction to the revenue requirement. And that results in lower fees, lower rates for the customers. Now, with regard to the rate of return on equity, the ALJs rejected Columbia Gas's proposed rate of return on common equity of 11.35% and adopted I&E's proposed DCF ROE of 10.51. I'm going to pause a moment and just go back to something I should have started with. We don't often see ALJs flat out reject a rate increase. That is something that really caught my attention. And then as I dug through the record, I understand why. And there's plenty of evidence as to why. So I just wanted to highlight that that's not something you see come out of this commission often. So I believe that an ROE lower than the ALJ's recommended 10.51 is more appropriate in this case. And that is because Columbia has a unique lack of regulatory lag. With that comes associated reduced business risk and the commensurate impact of the company's nearly annual rate increases in the past 5 years on customers' rates. I think that a 9.6 ROE would be the approximate median number between the OCA's proposed ROE of 8.9 and I&E's proposed ROE of 10.51. With an ROE of 9.6, along with the 50-50 capital structure, the overall rate of return would be a 7.4. And that would result in an overall rate increase of approximately $30.5 million. On to the smart remote methane detection pilot. I&E recommended a smart remote pilot in a region where Columbia has risky pipe for the installation of 500 to 1,000 of these devices. I support directing Columbia to implement an internal study to determine whether the pilot program would be feasible, how it would be implemented. With affordability always on our minds, it's very important for the company to fully understand the potential cost associated with the pilot prior to implementation. The usefulness and safety benefits of methane detectors are tremendous, and they allow the ability of real-time smart reporting technology to simultaneously notify the customer and emergency response officials of hazardous situations. So I want to thank I&E for putting forth this proposal and Columbia for being willing to evaluate the pilot. Finally, cap screening. The OCA and COSPA proposed that Columbia conduct an initial screening for all applicants applying for service or when transferring service to determine if they qualify as low-income customers or may be eligible for assistance, such as the CAP program. The record indicates that only about 23% of the estimated low-income customers in the service territory were enrolled in CAP. And to me, that points out that additional screening may be appropriate. So I support that proposal, and I agree that additional screening is needed, and that any tool we can use to nudge customers into a healthy financial relationship with their utility is beneficial for everyone, customers and company included. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement.
Commissioner Zerfus.
Thank you. Please enter my statement into the record as if I read it in its entirety. I will echo a lot of the data points and sentiments that the Vice Chair just raised. You know, like when we evaluate a rate case, we have the duty to ensure that the request that proposes to charge customers will be just and reasonable, and that you know, a utility can afford the adequate, efficient, safe, and reasonable service to its customers. So while the law permits a utility to recover costs that invest in improving infrastructure and in operating, running its operations to provide that service, the rate increase that was requested of $110,444,676 in light of the record that is before us, I just found was untenable. So in reaching my conclusion in this case, I believe that we eventually struck a balance, particularly in light of the two motions that were just adopted, you know, before now. I am looking to approve a rate increase of $55,627,800, which represents a reduction of a little more than 50% from the original request, and ensuring that there are significant customer protections in place to help Pennsylvania families afford to heat their homes. You know, some of the data points that the Vice Chair just brought up, this is Columbia's 13th rate case since 2008. I have been on the commission since October of 2022. This is the third rate case in the little over 3 years that I've been here that we are now looking at for Columbia Gas. Columbia has been granted a total of almost $500 million since 2008, and with this rate increase, rates will increase again in January of 2026. As you heard, that Columbia has the highest gas prices of Pennsylvania natural gas utilities, outpacing all 25 natural gas distribution companies serving the Mid-Atlantic region, except for those supplying New York City. And we're talking about like a footprint where a median income, say Jefferson County, median income, $56,898, and that was according to 2023 data. Mercer County, $60,030, according to 2024 data. Lawrence County, $58,162, according to 2024 data. Now, that median income is pretty much on pace with some other counties in the Commonwealth. I'll use my hometown county of Schuylkill County, which has a median income of $69,320, according to 2024 data, and my husband's county of Carbon County, hometown county, which has $63,082 in 2024 data. So we've got families making about the same amount, you know, in these counties, but we've got natural gas customers paying way more in the Columbia footprint. I understand it's not necessarily an apples-to-apples comparison, but I think that the data is certainly telling, especially when we're always trying to find that balance between the need of investment for infrastructure to deliver that safe and reliable service and to keep an eye on that affordability. Like, we all know that energy affordability is no longer just a term anymore. It's not a buzzword, right? It's real. The people back home, they're getting squeezed. You know, the utility stated it needs its increase to provide the safe and reliable service, to keep ongoing investments into the distribution system by replacing pipes and related components that have reached the end of their service life. Absolutely, we need that. We need that investment. So I commend Columbia for significant safety and reliability improvements. And it's important to note that these projects are exactly why we have the DISC mechanism that was established and granted by the General Assembly. Columbia does not utilize their DISC. It's a tool in the toolbox. We are not using all of the tools in the toolbox when we're coming in, when we're asking for more from our ratepayers. So although the DISC would not fully cover the cost of the replacement program detailed in Columbia's LTIP, strategically leveraging all of these available resources to help extend the intervals between rate case filings and the impact of yearly rate increases on customers. So I encourage Columbia and all utilities to consider implementation of the DISC mechanism. We have got to be using all of the tools in the toolbox. So as any rate increase impacts Pennsylvania families and their abilities to afford basic necessities for their households, I do support the numerous customer protections that the parties proposed and that we're looking to adopt in this case, particularly those geared towards our most vulnerable customers. So you heard in the motion that I had earlier when I said that 23% of Columbia's estimated low-income customers and 30% of its confirmed low-income customers are enrolled in CAP. So I find the proposals that aim to increase the identification of customers eligible for CAP as well as CAP enrollment levels to be essential. Among these are Columbia's Speech Analytics Pilot Program and the CAP Arrearage Pilot Program, as well as the OCA and CAUSE-PA proposals for additional enhanced CAP screening. The referral of the payment plans and policies for evaluation within the Universal Service Advisory Committee will also help to ensure that the company's payment plans are successful and the most advantageous avenue for assisting low-income customers. And of course, this comes on the heels of knowing that LIHEAP is alive and well and that safety net is still available for customers, which is super important when we're looking at the totality of impact for the folks back home. So on balance, while I can support the final outcome of the case, I am concerned about the frequency of the rate increase requests. Some of the parties addressed the frequency of the rate increase requests. However, I'm surprised that none of the parties proposed any kind of stay-out provision or some sort of staggering of increases to help ameliorate the impact back home. So given the frequency of these rate case filings, I just implore Columbia Gas and all utilities to be extremely strategic and judicious in deciding when you make your next request with the commission. And I will echo another sentiment from the vice chair to express my appreciation and gratitude to the commission staff for their outstanding work on this case, which required extensive litigation. The filing underwent numerous revisions to ensure that customer protections are robust and comprehensive. I'd also like to thank Jamie McClintock and Aaron Loudenslinger in my office for doing amazing work from my office in working with me on this case. And given the thorough litigation process, I can be comfortable in approving the outcome. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfus. Any further comments?
Chairman, I do have a short statement on this.
Commissioner Yanora.
I prefer to adopt the I&E suggested return on equity in this matter. The replacement of aging pipe is the driver for this rate case and the public safety and concerns. The I&E return of equity and supports this important public interest. Just a little word of advice. I did work in the industry for over 40 years, and the plastic, L-to-A plastics that are still out there, my concern is, back in the 70s when we started installing it, it lasted about 8 to 10 years and we started having issues. Just a little word of advice to the gas utilities, get rid of L-to-A. It's time to take it out of the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yanora. Any further comments? I do have a statement in this matter as well. I asked my statement be entered into the record as though I read it in its entirety, and many of the things I'm going to be saying, you have heard from my colleagues on the bench. And, when an entity comes in every year for rate cases, you tend to hear the same kind of suggestions coming from the bench. Before the commission is the disposition of the requested base rate increase of Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania, the company's 13th requested increase since 2008. To place Columbia's rate case filing frequency in further context, as Commissioner Zerfus pointed out, I joined the commission in October of 2022, and this matter is the third instance in 3 years where a request from Columbia to increase its rates has appeared before me. Despite the frequency of Columbia's rate increase request, the company seeks to increase its total annual natural gas distribution operating revenues by over $110 million, or approximately 12.02% over revenues at present rates. This includes a request for an astounding 85% increase to the monthly residential charge, from $17.25 to $31.91 per month. Columbia's current monthly residential charge is already the highest among Pennsylvania natural gas distribution companies. I'm concerned that Columbia is losing sight of the importance of customer affordability. The most recently released Consumer Price Index report reveals a 3% increase in prices for the 12 months ending September 2025. From food to medical care to utilities, consumer pricing for essential goods and services is rising. The frequency and steepness of Columbia's requested rate increase is agnostic to this reality. Moreover, the effect of the frequency of Columbia's rate increases is compounded by the low participation in Columbia's customer assistance programs. As of December 2024, only 30% of Columbia's confirmed low-income customers and 23% of its estimated low-income customers were enrolled in the company's CAP. One of the recommendations in this matter that I will be voting to approve is an additional screening process designed to identify eligible customers for enrollment into Columbia's CAP. Columbia claims that a driver for its rate case frequency is due to replacement of aging pipe. Modernizing distribution infrastructure, especially infrastructure that is nearing the end of its useful life and could be at risk for failure, is important to address safety and reliability. As you know, I have led efforts to require natural gas public utilities to identify at-risk older plastic pipe and related components and to encourage their accelerated replacement. However, the recovery of such investments must be balanced by customer affordability. Additionally, I strongly encourage Columbia to use available tools like the Distribution System Improvement Charge to make timely and cost-effective repairs and replacements. On balance, I am voting to support an increase that is roughly 50% of what the company requested. This reduced amount is sufficient to enable the company to provide safe and reliable service while being cognizant of consumer affordability. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the matter as amended by both motions, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
Opposed?
Chairman, this is Commissioner Coleman. I also want to be noted as concurring in part and dissenting in part, but being recorded as a yes vote. Thank you.
Yes. Got it.
And Chairman,
matter passes.
Chairman, to clarify, I am concurring in part, dissenting in part, but recorded as no.
Got it. On the matter as amended by both motions is passed by a vote of 4-1, noting Commissioner Coleman concurring in part and dissenting in part, and Vice Chair Barrow dissenting but also concurring in part. I think I got it, right?
Correct.
Moving on to the agenda and turning to page 3. I move that the commission adopt a proposed opinion and order in the application of Silver Ride Incorporated, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 4 of today's agenda, matters presented by Director Diskin and the Bureau of Technical Utility Services. I move that the commission adopt an omnibus motion, both items on page 4, beginning with the proposed opinion and order in the application of First Energy Pennsylvania Electric Company, and continuing the omnibus to include both items on page 5, both items on page 6, both items on page 7, both items on page 8, and the item at the top of page 9, ending the omnibus with the proposed order regarding the tariff supplement of Pennsylvania American Water Company wastewater. Is there a second? Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Continuing on page 9 of today's agenda, I move that the commission adopt the evaluation committee's selection of the electric resource adequacy consultant. Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? I do have a statement in this matter, and I ask that my statement be entered into the record as though I read it in its entirety. Before us for consideration today is a preliminary selection for a consultant in response to the Commission's request for proposals for a resource adequacy consultant. First, I would like to commend Vice Chair Barrow for her foresight in convening a series of stakeholder conversations on resource adequacy last year. Since then, the Commission held its Resource Adequacy Technical Conference and its en banc hearing on large load tariffs. The proposal today is another component of the Commission's ongoing efforts to ensure affordability and reliability in this time of unprecedented change to our electric grid. The goal of seeking a consultant for these services is to ensure the Commission is working with the most accurate information available as we evaluate the explosive load growth coming from data centers and other large load customers. I'm also focused on managing the resulting impact on prices for our existing customers and for the system at large. As a restructured state, it has been decades since the Public Utility Commission had direct responsibility for performing state load forecasts or engaging in comprehensive resource planning. Moreover, in Act 45 of 2025, passed as part of the Commonwealth's budget, the General Assembly tasked the Public Utility Commission with exercising more oversight of electric load forecasts for the state. We have incredibly dedicated and talented staff here at the PUC, but the agency must now rebuild some skills that have been dormant for some time. While we have already begun taking action to prepare the Commission for these renewed responsibilities, I believe it is extremely prudent to engage an outside expert. This consultant will bridge the gap until the Commission is fully prepared to carry out this new load forecasting responsibilities. It will also assist in evaluating the current landscape and preparing for challenges and opportunities to come. This is merely an initial step to begin contract negotiations, but I look forward to having a consultant in place in short order to assist the Commission and Commission staff in meeting this moment of our energy system. Any further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 10 of today's agenda, I move that the Commission adopt a proposed order regarding the letter of notification filed by Mid-Atlantic Interstate Transmission, LLC. Is there a second? Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 11 of today's agenda, matters presented by Chief Counsel Screven and the Law Bureau. I move that the Commission adopt an omnibus motion, both items on page 11, beginning with a proposed order in the annual administrator's report for the Pennsylvania Universal Service Fund, and ending the omnibus with the matter at the bottom of page 11, the proposed order in the petition for reconsideration filed by True Connect Communications Incorporated. Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 12 of today's agenda, matters presented by Chief A.L.J. Rainey and the Office of Administrative Law Judge. I move that the Commission adopt the initial decision of A.L.J. Gould in the formal complaint of Black Rock Property Management versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation. Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a statement.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Just a brief verbal statement. This is an unfortunate case in that it's a billing dispute between a property management company and a residential property, where I think they're pointing fingers at who's responsible for getting the bill paid. But the problem was that there was not a bill issued for 3 years, and the balance ran up to $16.9 thousand. Just want to take a moment and ask the company to please work on communicating with customers when this kind of situation occurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5-0. Continuing on page 12 of today's agenda, I move that the commission adopt the initial decision of ALJ Farron in the formal complaint of Roxanne Harpster versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Please enter this motion into the record as though read in its entirety. This is a complaint from Ms. Harpster, who's alleging that PPL unreasonably delayed the installation of a solar distributed energy resource at her property. Following hearing, the ALJ issued an initial decision granting the complaint, but did not issue a penalty. So the story with this is we've got a residential customer who owns behind-the-meter solar, and in September of '24, she submitted a complete application for interconnection of her system. There was a lot of back and forth between the company and the complainant, and she ultimately was given formal permission to operate her system on December 23rd of 2024. That's 3 months later. The initial decision does grant the complaint, reasoning that PPL did not provide Ms. Harpster reasonable service by failing to timely explain that PPL did not intend to install a DER management device, and timely granting the complainant permission to operate her solar array. While this violation may be seen as not particularly egregious, I consider the delay involved to be a violation not just of PPL's duty to provide reasonable service, but specifically of its settlement agreement in the DER management pilot. The Commission takes the smooth installation of distributed energy resources seriously, and presently the grid needs all of the power that it can get. And while distributed energy resources are small, they do have a role to play. Further, although the facts in the record relate to a specific instance, distributed energy resource interconnections of this type are not rare. From 2022 to 2024, there have been 179,137 Tier 1 interconnections across all service territories. In 2024 alone, PPL managed over 25,000 of these interconnections, and this number is growing year over year. So it's really important that this happens smoothly. Based on PPL's violations here, I believe a civil penalty of $250 is warranted to deter delays in interconnection processes and to emphasize the seriousness with which we take utility responsibilities in this area. Therefore, I move that the initial decision of ALJ Farron is affirmed as modified by this opinion and order, that within 30 days of the entry date of this opinion and order, PPL shall pay a civil penalty of $250. Upon payment of the civil penalty, the Secretary shall mark the matter as closed. And finally, that the Office of Special Assistant shall prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. We've heard the motion by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Zerfas. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is approved by a vote of 5-0. On the matter as amended by the motion, is there any objection to taking the previous roll call? Hearing none, the matter is approved as amended by a motion by a vote of 5-0. Continuing, that concludes our regular agenda today. Now turning to our carrying agenda. On page 1 of the carrying agenda and additional matters presented by Director Diskin and the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, I move that the Commission record the action taken by notational vote on November 26, 2025 regarding the joint motion of Deer Haven LLC and PL Utilities LLC. seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Now turning to the supplemental carry-in agenda. Please note that the motion by Vice Chair Barrow regarding revisions to interconnection rules has been postponed to the public meeting of December 18th, 2025. And that concludes all agenda items to be considered today. Is there any other business to come before the commission?
Chairman, I do have a comment.
But Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. On the postponed matter, the revisions to interconnection rules, bear with me for a couple of minutes. So I'm sure that all of the commissioners sitting up here have received complaints, discussions from manufacturers, businesses, residential customers who are trying to interconnect into the distribution grid and are running into problems. And one of the reasons they're running into problems is because our interconnection regs are at this point antique. It is time to change them. It is time to modernize them and make them more streamlined. And I would hope that during the next 2 weeks before the next public meeting, when this matter comes back up again, that any commissioners who have concerns about the motion, please come and talk to me. I keep having to say this, but really, my door's always open. Just talk to me. And if I don't hear from staff that there is a problem with the motion, I don't know to come and talk to any of you. So I am just pleading, everyone, let's keep talking. We need to move this forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. I would agree with you. We all know interconnections have been an issue. I get multiple emails weekly on companies trying to interconnect, and it could be not a lot of load, or it could be a distributed generation facility. So I would hope that any issues that commissioners have, we would try to work those out in the next 2 weeks so we can consider this matter at the next public meeting. Is there any other business to come before the commission? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.